When I was younger, I mean, I say younger, when I was like within the first 20 years of my career as a photographer, I would often go on holiday for a fortnight or a week or 2 weeks, and then I would be scared that I wouldn't remember how to do it when I got back. And then then you get back and you just take a week out without taking pictures, and you start taking pictures. It takes a bit of time to get into it. I really noticed it, especially with weddings. I mean, when you go 2 weeks without a wedding and then you go and shoot a wedding, it's the first hour of the day you're missing moments. It does takes a while to get back into the rhythm. So I try to shoot 3 days a week as a sort of minimum. If I'm shooting 3 days a week, I can maintain my ability and my level. And if I shoot more than 3 days a week, I find I can make progress. I worry a lot about my ability or lack of it, at times, and I come across as being very confident and very sort of positive guy, but that sometimes is a bit of a front for that little bit of insecurity. I think a lot of photographers are slightly, you only look at other people's work and you get picture envy, and I think then that can set in and you can think, oh my God, I've got so far to go, and it's just the way it is. But all the time that you have this journey and you have further to go, then there's a reason to keep shooting. So that's why I'm still shooting. I've never lost the buzz because I've always wanted to improve. Feeling a little bit nervous on this at the moment, and it's the little butterflies you get before a shoot. I actually think they're quite valuable, because whenever I've not had them, and I've just sort of been a little bit blasé about the shoot, it's been a challenge. I really feel underprepared, but there's a little bit of stage fright, a little bit of nerves, and butterflies. I'm photographing a girl from Prague, and we're going to shoot on the streets and try not to get arrested. That's the plan. I'm going to shoot some fashion, going to shoot a bit of movement, a bit of dynamic shots, just get some energy into the pictures, be a little bit creative with the light. You've got beautiful sunlight out there, and I'll use some of that. My model's coming, so I need to just check everything out. So I even clean my glasses and stuff, just because I think it's part of a habit. Preparation, success happens when preparation meets opportunity, and I think that's important. I'm out there, and the last thing I want to do is find I haven't got a spare battery or I haven't got something, and the energy, and I feel bad about it. The energy in the shot's gone. In fact, that's it. That's the end of the shoot. So I have to be prepared. I have to make things as easy as possible for me to remember and do, and then I can ignore the equipment and just concentrate on the subject and concentrate on what I'm shooting. The pictures are everything to me. All the equipment just gets in the way, all this knob twiddling and stuff you do, it's just it's everything conspires against the photographer if you're starting to have to faff with equipment, because then you lose that connection and the energy with the person you're shooting. And that's not really in the best interest of anything. So, right, I need to just check. I've got the battery in there. Let me just have a quick look at what's going on here. That's okay. I'll check the sensor. I'll check my settings, make sure I'm on stills. That's fine. The look at the images I set before I shoot. So I have to have. I'm using Pro Negative S. It's just a particular film simulation, and I've got my shadow tone cut down, so it's a flat picture. On the back of the camera, it's going to look dull, but I know that I can increase the contrast and punch actually in post-production. But also, it'll tell me what highlight detail I've got, what shadow detail I've got, and I need to know that, because when you're working with flash, and that's what I'll be doing. I think it's a cracking day out there, a lovely sunny day, but. Some of the time I want to work out in the shadows and then just put my own light in. So what I've got here is got a flash with a 5-inch reflector. That'll do. That's labelled up B. Okay, so I have A and B, and I have A on the left, B on the right. So it goes A left to right. Really easy. That way, when I'm shooting and I'm looking, I can just quickly change on the trigger. A, that's on. So in here I've got a trigger here, I've got a spare one in the camera bag. Let's just get this one switched on. So, right channel, Let's switch B off. Just test A. Yep. Switch A off and test B. That's the system I use. It's cheap. It's Godox. I say it's cheap. I mean, it's brilliant value for money. It gives out a lot of power. It's well made. It just works. It's Godox AD200. You know, there's different makes of flash out. There's Pro Photo, Broncolor. Some people say you get what you pay for, but I think this defies the rules really, because this is more than one type of flash. You know, this is a we've got here like a bare bulb, of course, which can then go into a softbox. You know, the whole thing about having a bare bulb is that when you put it in a softbox, the light itself goes sideways and fills that softbox. You know, rather than a Fresnel head, which let me show you a Fresnel head. It's easier to show you than it is to describe it. It's this one in here, and I've got a couple here. So one for each unit. That's a Fresnel. It looks like a speed light, which when you've got those on, let me just switch the flash off. But when you've got one of those on the unit, like that, the flash goes out the front. You know, it's like focused because it's a lens, and so it doesn't fill a softbox so well. So that's why speed lights don't really work with softboxes particularly well. But this is, you know, it's 3 times the power of any speed light. Still a small little unit, perfect for on the street use, and you get that little bit more oomph. And I'm working with a 5-inch 125mm reflector. You know, that's really useful because that's just quite a lot bigger in area. You know, when you compare those two, it actually makes a significant difference to the characteristic of the shadow. Okay, the penumbra, the partial shadow is has a nicer look. So this is the bit of kit I'm using at the moment. I've just got 2 here today. I'm gonna. It's a sort of standard to wide. This lens, you know, it goes from on a full frame SLR, it would be a 24 to 50. So it's sort of mid-wide to standard. Zoom at f4. That's fine. That's going to do everything I want it to. And I've got equivalent of an 85 on full frame. This is the 110. Beautiful lens. This f2, shallow depth of field, so sometimes I might want to use that today. We shall see. That's okay. Just got to check everything is okay. Oh yeah, filters. I've got some ND filters with me just in case. I might want to use natural sync rather than high-speed sync, and I got a 6-stop and a 5-stop filter, just so that it gets me down to f2 if I want to just knock the background out a little bit. You get an extra stop of light if you're on regular sync, and if there's not too much movement, 125th is fine. I take a couple of stands. The stands I have are really important because they're quite cheap actually. They're only $30 each, but they've got this section here is really long, and that means then I can, when it's opened out, it goes really wide. So you've got a good stable base. You know, it's not going to blow over when you've got flash on the top. And they go really high, you know, sort of 12 feet, something like that. 3.5 meters maybe. And that's really useful because sometimes I like pedestals. I like putting people up on things. I like, you know, and I still want the light to come in from above. So, you know, a tall stand is an absolute necessity. You know, you can't get away with something that goes this high. It's got to go like twice that. If I put this stand right up, it will be higher than the ceiling. That's useful, and it's lightweight. So, and I don't mind trashing them if I have to. You know, I'll put it in a lake if I need to. It's plastic collets. It's not a disposable item, but it's nearly. You know, it's cheaper than a filter for a lens. You know. For the last 18 months, everything I've shot has been on a tripod. It's great because it means I can just set the composition once, and it's sorted. The verticals, everything's organised. I don't have to worry about that again. And then I can go in and sort my lighting out, come back. I don't even have to look at the camera, I just press the button. When the moment's there, the moment's right, I'm just going, boom, got it. You know, it's quite handy. Tripod's an essential. It's a different way of working. I mean, I mix it up. You know, I change everything all around. I have to. You know, I change my cars. You know, I have a small little Fiat 500 one year, and then I'll have a sports car the next, you know, with a 3.5 litre engine. It's just whatever. And I just sometimes find that it re-energizes my way of working, you know. So going from small X-series little cameras, handheld with a lot of freedom to move and feel that moment, to working off a tripod, you know, it's a real big change. But some elements of the quality rise when you work off a tripod. I mean, absolutely, the composition, everything's spot on. And a few things you lose. You lose some of that spontaneity. But yeah, I like it. It just works for me. She's got some, I don't know, it's a dynamic sort of person and energy. And I'm going to work with that. It should be great. So I need to go and get her. So. Come on in. So today, what I'm going to do, we're going to shoot down in one place, not two, just on in Brooklyn, a place called Dumbo. We'll shoot there, and I want to get some energy, some movement. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right, fashion. Come on through. I'll just put it in this room because you can lay things out.
So I can.
Yes.
Everything here.
Yep. It's a 50-50 process. Half of the look in the image will be created by Denisa in terms of the styling and the look. And the other half is me as a director and lighting guy and photographer and the vision of it all. It's the same when you're shooting a movie. And then I reckon just shout when you're ready, okay? And I'll have a look at that. And I think then we've got ourselves 3 or 4 looks, we'll have enough. The director, Spielberg, will put his vision into the piece, but he's relying on his leading actors to deliver the other side of it. Okay, can you layer that? Have you got something to go over the top, like a shawl jacket or something?
Over this?
Yeah. When you are shooting, you're both working towards the best it can be, and you're both excited about the pictures that you're going to shoot. If you start working with someone who doesn't know your work and they don't know how you are, it takes some time to get over that phase until they can start to trust you. I think that works really nicely. So that's an option, okay? Just bring the jacket up and button it up. So just bring it up over the shoulder now. Normally we just try out different bits and pieces and stuff, get up some ideas, because otherwise you end up with a suitcase full of stuff out on location. You can't be doing that. You've got to get everything into a tote bag, basically that sort of size, and pop it in there, then you're good to go. The best outfit's going to be that PVC, I love that. For me, I'm thinking now about the fabric, how much movement there is, what's the way to portray that look, so that I'm not asking Denisa to do something ridiculous like pirouette in something who's got not enough movement.
White color.
White's good. I like the white. I've shot 400 weddings. Working with the mother of the bride, or someone who's just never been photographed before. Excuse me. Love it. Yeah, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I love them. I've shot 400 weddings, and photographing a mother of the bride or a father of the groom or whatever. These people, they've not been photographed professionally before often, and so they don't know how to stand. They don't know how to be cool or how to relax in a free space. So I'll often use like a surface, just to get someone to lean on a wall or something like that, transfer the upper body weight. It just relaxes them.
And
so that's 2 looks.
Dress. You don't like it, right?
Yeah, it's 70s is so in at the moment. But I remember it first time around. Come on and show me that. You want to sell me this. It's just, okay, show me that. The mechanics of posing someone is really important as a portrait photographer. But it's the fun as well. The fun, it has to be fun. That's the key thing, because without the fun, you don't get the energy through. Even if you're looking for a strong, powerful, or vulnerable look, between takes, you've got to lighten it up. You've got to have laughter and fun. Otherwise, it just doesn't, it becomes too heavy and everyone's just a bit pissed off and it just looks a little that way, I mean, it's like, I've got a beautiful girl, great clothes, I'm on the streets of New York. I mean, it's going to be, of course, it's a buzz, it's like, yeah, absolutely. It's it's not an adrenaline buzz because there isn't that sense of fear and you haven't got those sort of chemicals running through you, but it's exciting. So, I mean, if it wasn't an exciting job, I wouldn't be doing it. I have to have that excitement. I'm like a child, you know. I'm a short attention span. I need constant buzz, constant little pat on the back praise. I need to shoot stuff. I need to make pictures. And of course, the risk of that is you just end up with quite a lot of mediocrity. You know, you can end up being a very prolific creator, but not produce anything of great depth, but just produce a lot of it. And that's one of the fears I have at the moment. Whereas I'm banging that all out the whole time, and I've got books and books and books of picture potential. But you know, is anyone ever going to buy it? I don't know. You know, that's we can be our own harshest critics when it comes to our own work. Most photographers have a degree of self-doubt. So, of course, that goes when someone's paying you. You know, if you've got a viewing at a wedding, wedding viewing, a client, you've just been out to Florence, you photographed their wedding, 2 weeks later they come back, they stop off in London on their way back to Chicago, they come to the studio for a viewing and they're sitting there and they're projecting the images and the bride's in tears of happiness, and every picture they're buying is £35, and they're up to 220 pictures. And you're thinking, well, that's a new washing machine, dishwasher, that's changing the car a year early, that's, all this stuff you're competing with. And if someone's endorsing your work with payment, then that tends to be a proper reward, in the sense that it's not just great thanks and a pat on the back, but actually you realize that, yes, there is a value and that value can be measured. When you're shooting art, then it's somehow harder to put a real value on that. Because it has to then have a bit of spin and hype, and then you think, well, is it overhyped, and is the market actually going to crash because it's been built up? People have been buying it, collectors who don't know better, perhaps, and so I never want to get into that market. I want to keep things on a level. I'm excited now. Yeah. We're going to shoot now. Yeah. We all getting one? Yeah. It's nice. I mean, if we get stuck here, that's beautiful shots. See the reflection on the here of me, of my 800 ISO, 60th at f4.
You know everything.
I had to do that quite a few years. Can you just scoot across? Let's see, it's safe. I try to keep everything minimal, so we have no makeup artist, no wardrobe stylist or whatever. We do it ourselves, and there's I don't Photoshop and nip and tuck or any of that. I just like to get it in camera, and I think it has a rawness and a value that's really special. It's just like being shot on film, where there's not scanned and then manipulated, it's just printed, You can get 95% of the look with 5% of the budget. If I was a big name in the world of photography and I had assistants and makeup artist and wardrobe and then someone there with a changing thing, the whole thing's, the pace drops. Yes, the quality just gets to that, advertising grade level stuff, and then you end up with the art director wanting to see the camera output on a screen somewhere, and then you have the brand manager, then you have the finance director, they're all in there, and then you have the guy who's doing the advertising layout, making sure there's enough space for the text and whatever, and then it's committee, and then you lose the whole role as a photographer. You have to step back at that point and say, well, just press the button when you're happy, It should have a real vibe, There's the streetcars that run over the top on their way over Manhattan Bridge, and they rattle away, and the energy and the way the ground sort of shakes, the vibe of it all is just brilliant. So I love all that. Let's plonk that down there. No, it's a real problem. I'm going to have to go and do a little run around. Yesterday, this was empty. All of this. I need to find my next location. And sometimes I just go with the flow. You know, images, when you're shooting, I have an idea what I want to create, and sometimes I might get bogged down with that. You know, I'm trying to create something, it's not really working, and I have to stand back and start thinking about, okay, what are the opportunities here? You know, coming at this cold without any preconceived ideas, what do I want to achieve? And it's like starting from fresh. Right, so we're going to shoot this building here. Cheeky Dog, it's called. Once you get a bit of experience, you find that you have a repertoire to call upon. It's like a band, you know, going on stage. You know, if you the set list, you can rearrange the order of the set list and add a few items in here or there, and the band will just keep up and they'll work with the flow. And so you just change things around a little bit. I like that. I like to keep it a little bit fresh and a little bit risky. The best pictures I've had often are ones that have come from a non-planned environment. You know, you set stuff up, it's not working, you turn around and you're thinking, wow, that looks good. Yeah, let's shoot there. And then suddenly it's like, wow, that's fantastic, you know? So yeah, you just keep your options open. That's the trick. Perfect. I've got to switch that modeling light off. Yeah, that's good. B. I adjust stuff as it goes. If it's a little bit darker or a little bit light, I'll adjust it. The position and angle of the light, the exposure, everything. What I do is I look back at the shot and make a decision about what I feel, about how tight or wide it is. I want to go tighter. I want to break that line there. I want to look at everything, every aspect of the picture that could be adjusted. I now am going to adjust. But this is going to look great because I'm going to work with the reflections. And those reflections are going to go deep. That sky is going to pull down, drop it down 2-3 stops, pop the flash in, and we've got ourselves a real winner. It's just like evolve the shoot a little bit. The trick is don't flog a shot that's not going to come magic. You know, get to where it can go, then if it's not going to go any better, move on. This is where it's at. You can come back this way a little bit to there, beautiful. That's nice there, great. So when I'm shooting, I'm often not looking at the camera at the time I'm pressing the button. Yeah, I'm looking to see, did I get the expression? Have I got the eyes open? You know, because you know, if you're looking in the camera, the screen goes at the, you know, the mirror, the shutter goes down and it all goes to pot. You don't see the moment. Beautiful. Just drop your chin down for me to there. That's nice there. Yeah, and bring your knees back across there, and just with your left foot, bring your foot further back, and then bring your knee forward. Yeah, that's nice there. So that's it there, lovely. And a bit more energy into the knee. Okay, yeah, love it. Well, you see, if you start looking through the viewfinder, you've got this block here in front of you, and you can't see the other person. So I have to then come to the side, and then come back, and you rely then on the person's eyes tracking your eyes as you come back. So as your head comes behind the camera, those eyes are exactly in line. Takes a bit of a knack, but you've got to get the attention, get the moment, get the energy, and then bring that energy into that lens. That's the challenge. Lovely. Okay, fine. That's a wrap. It's the last one. It's the one. I share the back of my camera all the time as I go. Because it's that joint process, it's important for her to see. She might think, do you know what, I can change, I can get my look better than that. We're going to move. You can't really see a lot from here, but you get an idea because it's very flat. As I say, I use my system very flat. But what I like is the glasses, the light.
Nice.
You know, this is why I love those glasses, because they're wow, you know. The thing is, you know, you look at the histogram and everything looks crushed in on the blacks, and you'd say it's a good stop and a half underexposed. But this is why I never use histogram, because when you see the actual picture, you realise actually you wouldn't want any more exposure on that face. Actually, that's looking nice as well. That's an option. Because of the sunlight, it's not hitting that wall, but it'll be hitting you. That's something to think about. That's the next shot. Let's do this one first. Okay, so we're just going to shoot here, but I'm going to make it grungy. f16. I thought about the arch, but then it's just too obvious. It's too flat, so I'm just going to go through with my shots. I quite like this feel there. Yeah. So this is the fabric's looking superb on the jacket.
Okay.
So we're just looking here at the moment.
Oh, that's great.
It's going to have a good vibe, good energy about it. Yeah, I want to give it a bit of a vibe, you know. I want to go for a little bit of a cool, frosty background with a bit of warmth coming from the foreground, but I got too much warmth and not cool enough at the moment. So I'm going into Kelvin mode, and I'm going to just dive in and have a little look at the settings. Maybe 3000, something like that. Okay, so we're going to take it out of balance, all right? So bear with me a second, I'm just going to get focus and action. Yeah, I love it. Look at that. Superb. That's it. Yep.
Wow, nice.
Okay. Let's go. Oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, so push off this side. Yeah, that's nice there. Yeah, I love that. Okay, I've got to make something more striking than it is, and there's something strong about this, but the ground level is too bright. There's a strong feel to the picture, so the way to get around that is to bring the camera in and down. So I'm shooting at ground level, looking up, I won't see the ground. But then I'm thinking, what do I like in the building? What do I feel about it? So I just need to have a little look at this. Brilliant, beautiful. One more, and just to there. That's it, great, excellent, well done. That's done.
Oh, that's nice shot.
It's nice, I love that little gap.
Yeah.
You know, and the lines on the legs and
shadow
this
is
arch
great.
and this, and
I
it got a
like
little bit of distance as well. So that worked really well. I liking this. The cue I've got here is this warm light coming in from this side and the cold light coming from there, giving me these stripes of warm and cool. But my problem is I want my image, the finished print, to be looking left to right. I want the energy going that way, and I want the warm light coming in from the right. So I'm using what I'm seeing in the natural world as my cue, but I'm putting in the light in the other way around. So I've got warm coming from the right and the cool from the left. And then hopefully we'll get some great shadows and some energy, and the shot will look good. When you see a picture on the back of the screen, if it works, if it communicates, it's there straight away. You know, it's the 3-second rule. If it takes more than 3 seconds to work out if you got the shot, you haven't got it yet, you know? So yeah, it's quite limiting, isn't it, if you stand on that?
Can you help me?
Yeah, I can. Is that going to be possible? No, I want to slice it straight through there. Okay, so that's going to be fine. So just relax a second, because I'm going to put some light on you. That's what we need now. There's this one. Perfect. Right, I need to take the flash forward a little bit. This is the trouble. Do little tweaks, they make all the difference. I just need to go in and have a little look what the fabric's doing. I need another stop. I'm going to pop a filter on because I don't want to be working at f16, I'm going to work at f2. Here we go. Yeah, okay. Action. That's nice, love it. No, I think we've got it. That's it, got it. Thank you. Done. Yep. It's actually, I was just checking to see whether it's in focus because I'm shallow depth of field on here, but it's spot on. Yeah, that's great. Good. Don't need to do another one of those. If you're time limited, you can feel the stress, you know? And then when a shot happens, you just feel that elation, that buzz, you know? It's a, you know, it's like watching a World Cup. When a goal happens, you feel amazed, and then at the last few minutes, it's nail biting because they might equalise. You know, it's that sort of. Sometimes there's a lot of elements that aren't in your control, and those are the ones you have to deal with. This is why I love studios sometimes, you know, because studios, you don't have any issues. You know, every bit of light is there under your control, and you have total control. It's a black box before you start, and then you just put the light in. But of course, I get bored in the studio. I like to make the world my studio because every picture is going to be different. Well, everybody's had mistakes, you know. So I've had a shoot where, you know, Ted took the film off the back and wound it out, and it was, even though it said it was a colour film on the back of the Hasselblad mag, there's actually a black and white film in there. And I had to convince a woman that the christening pictures would look really good in black and white, and I wouldn't charge her any extra. I said, look, you know, I think this is be great in black and white, and no extra fee for black. Oh wow, that'd be great. So I gotta, you know, you gotta get out of things occasionally.
It's nice.
I love it. I just gotta get to a point where I can't see the sky. The sky is the highlight. I need to get rid of that. I always like to use a tripod though. I think it slows me down a little bit. But also it makes everything repeatable. I can go and adjust the light, come back and the camera's still set. I try to get, it's a very central placement in a frame, but I do try to get some 2/3 of the way up for a nicer line for the eyes to sit comfortably. But what happens, you know, when Denisa's working, she often drops down into a pose, and that pulls the eyes into the right place. So as long as I've got the focus, nail the focus, switch it through to manual, and then let her do the stuff. She can't go forward or backwards because this is in the way or she's off the edge, you know. I'm not moving because I'm on a tripod, so manual focus is great, even wide open. And then you just know when it's right, hit the button. It's about grungy blue, dark, sort of like a moonlit type background, and then this ray of golden light just glancing the figure in motion. See what happens. Come on in.
Okay.
So just unwind once and just like that, okay? And that should work well. We'll give it a go. Hold on, come this way for me and then go, you have to go back, I think. That's it, it's done. I'm just going to derig the flash before someone trips over it. So we have that night, this drama of the night, and then the warmth and the energy and the vibrance. Beautiful. Good teamwork. Well done.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you. It was my pleasure to be your
Thank
model
you.
again.
Thank you. Oh, it goes. As soon as you hit the button and a shot, it just comes out off the page. You're thinking, that's a nice shot. That's a portfolio shot. Then, you know, makes the whole trip worthwhile, and the nerves go and everything comes good. Okay, we'll go down to the restaurant to get the Uber back, so you can head on down there. Yeah, I mean, I think the 15th of a second or the 125th of a second that you capture the image is important. But I see a potential in the image. I don't see a finished image. You know, for me, the print is the finished image. There's still work to do, but I know that the core is there. You know, I've got the right negative, I've got the exposure right, I've got the highlights right, I've got the shadow detail where I want it, I've got the color where I want it, and now all I need to do is just bring that print to life, just with a little bit more oomph and see what happens. You know, but even if it's off the back of the camera, if I said let's print it straight from camera, I'd be happy with that. When you start shooting in a space, whether maybe a space like this apartment or whatever, you only ever see obstacles. You only ever see reasons why something doesn't work. You don't see opportunity, and everything's a challenge. But as you start to see and be able to work out, well, that light, there's a gap in that doorway there, and the light's going to be coming across. You can't see the light until someone stands in it, and then you see it strike them. But you can have a vision, you can understand, and you can start to predict. If I put someone in that light there, that's going to look fantastic. And yet, you don't see that opportunity when you start out. You only see problems. And so now I feel I can go into pretty much any environment and pull off a shot, one way or the other. And it was weddings that did that. It was a real challenge, you know, going into some of the venues that we went into early days just to get the experience, some of the halls with just dodgy pictures on the walls, horrible fluorescent lighting, and you've got to get some beautiful bride and groom pictures, and it's raining outside and they don't want to go out in the rain, and you're thinking, what do I do? But when you start working out how you can work with just small areas, small pieces of background and little chinks of light, and it opens up everything. So learn to see is the first thing, really, I think. But that takes a certain amount of experience. On a day-to-day shoot, I feel confident that even if I start badly, I can pull it around. But when I compare my work with other people's work, and I don't do that often, but pretty much every magazine I look at, I go through the picture and think, oh wow, that's fantastic, oh I love that. And you get this situation where I feel that my work is just not at the level. And I'm thinking, why are people, even following me on Facebook or Instagram? And because I just job in photography, I just do my thing. I'm not using any fancy, no wardrobe, makeup artist, brand manager, and sort of art director, or I haven't even got a crew. I just turn up and a couple of flashes in the street, bish bash bosh, and I got the picture. And so sometimes there's a feeling that a little insecurity comes in, because you can't help but to be impressed by other people's work, and then you feel picture jealous. I'm often really jealous of what someone else shoots, even on the shoots and the workshops I do. And the people, they're starting out, and I was standing alongside them, and I seen the pictures they're shooting. I'm thinking, I'm not seeing that. I'm not getting that. And then they just wander around the back, and they just get a shot from that side, and it's just beautiful. I'm thinking, why didn't I see that? So sometimes we're always, I don't know about other photographers, but I'm always fighting an inner battle, always. But I think that's what gives me the drive to get better. I'm always thinking that the next shoot I'm going to do is better than the previous shoot, and there's always this progression. That's why I've been doing this thing now since 1984. This thing called photography, and it's not I've never got bored with it, because I've always feeling I'm better. I think I'm a better photographer now than I was last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. But you can't ever get to perfection, but you can try. But the further I get, the further everybody else seems to get. It's like this never-ending sort of battle, and so I try not to compete in my mind with what other people are doing, but at the same time, I do have quite a lot of self-doubt. You always got to come up with the goods, and I don't think really that there's opportunity to not, for a lot, especially when you're working in retail, where someone's actually the person in the picture is paying you to take their picture. That's the retail structure, where the person you're photographing is the person that's eventually going to buy the picture or not. You don't have really much choice but to take something that they're going to be in love, because that keeps your family fed and your life moving forward. And so the pressure's always been on. And in a retail environment, you can't show the pressure. You always have to be light and fluffy. Otherwise, if you have stress and tension, it comes through in the pictures, and then they don't buy the pictures. So you have to deliver a wonderful, fluffy life, and yet on the inside, you're pedaling like mad, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? What do I need to do now? And so there's a lot of that going on, and I think, it's just part of it. It's like being. I have this analogy, like not football, but tennis maybe. You're 2 sets down, 6-1, 6-1, but you can win the game. You're on the back foot, but actually you can come out on the 3rd set and you can turn the whole game around, and that's what you have to do. I always want to come back from a shoot with something that is portfolio quality, that I'd be happy to say that that's my work. And put it out there on my blog and say, this is my recent work, this is what I did today. And before coffee today, I didn't feel I had that. After coffee, I got 2 or 3 frames. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm happy. That's my name. I put my name to that. So it had the right vibe. It looked good. It was calm. There's big spaces. there's the trains going over the top, and every now and then there was a lot of sound, but it was a sort of aggressive city sound, and I felt it added to the mood and the feel of the pictures that I want to make. Went there today, and just people everywhere, street markets, everyone out there with their kids, ice creams, a lot. And so had to rethink a little bit, and I tried a couple of things, and it just wasn't really clicking, so just took a little step down, chilled out a little bit, went for a walk, re-engaged, and came back out. It's like being 2 goals down in the first half, and you're half time, and your manager says to you, you have to listen for that voice sometimes. Now just go back to basics, stick to what you know, and just deliver that to the best of your ability. You can do it, overcome these things. And then we came out after coffee and just flowed, went like a dream. So that's normal. You have this little pressure, like even at a wedding, and I've done a lot of weddings, but you can be on your back foot, trying to catch up all day until you get to the reception, and then you've got maybe 20 minutes where everything happens, and you're getting a great picture of the mother of the bride. You've got a great picture of the brothers together and with the bride, and things just happening, and then you're on a one-click shot. Got that, move on. Got that, move on. And once you get into a rhythm and a flow, and once I get into that flow, then I'm very productive. I know when I've got a shot. I don't, keep going at it. I don't take safety shots, because you're only never going to be as good as the one. So when you got it, you nailed it, then I move on, and then you get the opportunity to get 4 or 5 shots in just one little area, and they make a really nice collection of pictures, and hopefully there's a sort of signature of style that runs through those. It's not easy. If you haven't got a track record of shooting with models, then you sort of need a character reference. Safety of the model is really priority, male or female, whatever. Going into a situation with someone they don't know, and that's the first thing you need to think about. So you need to have some means of reassuring the person that you're photographing is that your intentions are good. Share with them as much information as you can about what your aim is, what the reason for the pictures are. Have some concept, some idea of what your target is, what you're trying to achieve, and then see if you can work together to achieve that. Invite the model to bring a partner, a friend with them, so they can feel reassured, and it just helps the flow of things. They can hold dresses, bags, whatever as well, and it just can sometimes really lighten the shoot. But at some point you have to get the experience, and often the only way to get the experience is to photograph someone who's prepared to be photographed, and that often is a model. Some of the times the best portraits are pictures taken of mummy by a 5-year-old. Sometimes what matters in a photograph is what it communicates. So a portrait, a good portrait should tell you something about the character, about the person that you're photographing. There should be a narrative that runs through it. You can read the nature of the person, or perhaps you can't read the nature of the person, and that may be it may be slightly scary, a good portrait, because you're not quite sure what they're thinking, And sometimes when someone's looking at you slightly from the side of the face, it's questioning. And sometimes that is great, because it draws you in. I find that if I got eye contact on a portrait, then I can't print it up big, because it becomes too scary. Whereas if I have a little look off to the side, I can go really big with that. And as a viewer looking at a photograph, if I'm looking at a picture when someone's looking back at me, I feel slightly intimidated by that. I feel like I can't stare too long. Do you understand what I mean? And if they're not looking that way, I feel like I can have it's like a privilege. You can look at the texture of the skin, and you can really study that person. And you have a privileged view. And so these are the things that really are quite important with portraiture. What are you trying to achieve? Is it, it has to be a reason for the picture, perhaps. And a lot of the time I struggle to find those reasons. And sometimes I find the reason after I've taken the shot. And I look at that picture, that's why I took the shot. I hate to say this, but everything I do has a formula.
What's the Lovegrove formula?
Well, the Lovegrove formula is two sentences. It's like it's direction of light. Okay, direction of light is relative to the subject, not to where the camera is. So I work out where I want someone to look and stuff, and how I want it to be. Then I put the light in to make it work for them. And I don't mind where I shoot from. Then it doesn't matter. You could, once the light is right, you can shoot from any angle. And I often shoot 90 degrees to the light, and that's very rare. So I get a lot of profiles in my work. Don't know why. And I'd shoot very few eye contact pictures, but when there is eye contact, it's strong. I really pull it into the camera. So direction of light is one. Then shooting from below the eye line. So I like to shoot with the camera low, so looking up to the face, down to the feet. So that's another system that I use. These are the things that really matter to me. So there's a rhythm going through everything I do. It's part of what I do, and my daughter's the same. It's about alignment, it's about visual balance, harmony. I love color, tone, and balancing the tones. I love the aggression. So the most distant part of my scenes is the least contrasty, and the foreground is the higher contrast. I love having that in my work, and that's why I use hard light to give you strong, rich contrast in the subject in the foreground, and let the background go into low contrast. And that contrast change is just like heaven to me. And I'm playing with contrast. I'm playing with tonal balance, not just bright and dark. It's all about the subtleties of light. And I'm seeing this in the real world, and I'm thinking, I love that light. I love the light that's just coming off there. How can I recreate that? And I go and stand in it. I look around. I look at where it's coming from. It's coming from that window. It's the sun reflected off that window. It's coming down here. And you know what? I can open my eyes. It's sunlight, but it's not oppressive. It's not hard. It's not harsh. And so I clock it. And so when I see it, I'm thinking, that's it. That's that light. You go back and you look at the pictures that were shot back in the 1940s, 50s, 60s. They were shot on these waist level finder cameras, or twin lens Rolleiflexes, or Hasselblad 500Cs or whatever, and everything just looks right. The camera's down here looking up to someone. It makes people look tall and powerful, elegant, and it just looks right. But once the 35mm thing came out and everyone brought the camera up to their eye line to look through a little hole, then you lost so much of that beauty in the portrait. I've got really rubbish memory for names, anything that happens recently. I can remember my school lessons, and I but I've got great memory for visual stuff. I know what 5:30 in the afternoon at Clevedon Beach is going to look like. Where the sun's setting on an August day. I know how the contrast and how the feel is going to be of that light. It's the tools of the trade. I do like a good camera, but I work with all sorts of cameras. So I've had every camera going, throughout my life, and the lenses are the most important, because I can tell if a shot's been taken with a decent lens, or if it's not. But the camera, I can't tell if it's been taken on a Canon, Sony, Nikon, Fuji, whatever. You can't. When you just look at a print, you just don't get that sense. Oh, that's a Hasselblad shot, or that's a Fujifilm shot. So, although for the last few years I've been working with Fujifilm equipment, whatever comes along that I feel, I like that, I'll get that, and it's just one of those things. I don't think what I've been shooting today, I could shoot it on a 12-year-old camera and lens. Something you could buy for a few $100. But it would look fine. But if you want to make a big print, then that's where the difference comes. But if you're not making big prints, you don't need, there's no way that going out and buying a new lens is going to change your photography. It's just going to, it might feel good for a bit of retail, you know, but it's not that important to me. You see, when I started with photography, I had a career in television as a cameraman, and so I started shooting for stock, shooting stills for stock library really early on, and I still have an income from stock. You know, it's carried with me all this time, and that was fun. It was easy. I had to justify owning all these fancy cameras and stuff, and so the stock library paid me the money that I used to buy the cameras, etc. Back in the day, and I took it as my hobby. When I left the BBC, photography became my career choice, and I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready. I didn't know how to make money at photography. I just thought, you know, if you do what you enjoy doing, well, then the money will follow. But it didn't actually work that easily. And so there were times when I think my wife said to me, "When are you going to go back to the BBC?" Because they offered me my role back, you know, so we'll take you back at any point. You won't necessarily have your original job, but we'll slot you in as soon as one comes available. Because obviously they'd invested so much in my training and stuff, and so it was going to cost them more to get someone else in. But in a way, that was too much of a lifeline for me, because it didn't make me hungry enough. But I eventually got it all together, and we had a really good career. But that was one time, and it was only because of my lack of business acumen, not because I got bored with photography. And then, of course, once got to a point where at the end of my wedding career, after 10 years at shooting weddings, we decided to step out of that market. I felt that I was working for other people, creating pictures for them, more than I was creating pictures for myself. When I started weddings, I had free reign to just walk around and shoot. I could go and photograph anybody, because I was the photographer. So I could go up to someone, "Can I take your picture?" "Yes, of course." And it was amazing, you know. I walk down the street and I can't do that. I can't ask someone, "Can I take your picture?" Because I haven't got the license to do that. But weddings were brilliant, so that's what I liked about them. But of course, after 10 years or so, you find that you don't resent it, but you're working for the client. You're shooting what you know the client's going to love, and you're not necessarily shooting for yourself. And so my career since then has given me that freedom to shoot for me, and that's what I've been doing. And do you know what? It's brilliant. You know, I've been a Hollywood style photographer. I've done boudoir. I've done sort of lifestyle news. I've done street photography, street portraits like we shot this morning. I've done figure in the landscape. I've done all these different genres. I do a bit of travel now and a bit of landscape photography. I keep having to try something new. When I feel like I can't offer something anymore, you know, I feel like, you know, I've reached the peak of my peak, you know, not necessarily anybody else's peak. I move on, you know. I'm a bit boring like that, you know, since I don't like linger on something. I'll crack on something else, you know. I think a successful picture is one that has impact. You know, when you look at it, either on the back of the camera or on a print, you go, "Wow, that's a successful picture." When you look at a picture and you want to look at the next, it has no impact, or it doesn't connect with you, it has no narrative, and yeah, it's gone. If you can't see the reason for the picture, then that's gone. But there could be a reason there. You know, it could be that it's perfect for something, but if you don't, I don't have the patience to read the background to a picture. If it's, you know, move on. You can't go through life without looking at photography, because photography is everywhere in our lives. As I was coming through the airport, you know, I'm hit with photography through all the perfumes and stuff like that. But I suppose there's one person that their work resonates with what I do, and that's Vincent Peters. You know, he's photographed some very beautiful people, male and female, and has worked a lot with hard lights and the classic sort of TV and film lighting Fresnel spotlights and things. Worked with haze machines and that lovely recession and stuff. Shoots always on film. That's his choice. You know, I've shot a lot of my life on film, and I choose to shoot digital because I can get the look I want easily. But I've been there. I've done the film thing, and but his work is, you know, really, really nice. But we're surrounded by so much really good top photography, and I've no idea who takes it. You know, I go to the dentist, I open a magazine, and I'm waiting in a waiting room, and I look through it, and I'm thinking, wow, that's fantastic. Oh, I love that. Look at that, you know, and I just sometimes like the narratives that go on. If you get something like the Gantt catalogue, you know, it's a printed catalogue, and you've got to sign up for it, and it's every season they come out with the new season catalogue, and it's beautifully shot. You know, there's one that was shot in New York, and the snow was coming down, and the energy on the street. It's all very preppy. I don't, you know, it's not saying that like the Gantt clothes, but the pictures are really beautiful, and the energy was there, and it was sometimes it's all shot at a certain aperture. And you take Armani, for instance, the brand. You know, you've got Armani Exchange, which is sort of the mid-brand stuff, which is not that distinguishable in the way it's shot, but you get Armani jeans, gritty, grainy, black and white, lifestyle, young couple, him with his shirt off, and it's, I love it. And she's just falling back into him, and you get Giorgio Armani, and it's like their parents, you know, Nelly, you know, they're a little bit older, they're going off to the red carpet dinner, and they're black, you know, smart, looking really, really swanky, dressed up for the evening. It's all low grain, high quality, this medium format look, and it's got a very polished look. And so even within one brand, one overarching brand, the narrative of the style of the imagery is changing. And I spot this stuff as I'm moving around. You know, I can say, I want this to look a little bit Gucci. I want it to look a little bit, or, you know, and so in a way I'm using brands perhaps more than I am a particular photographer. Oh, this is a print from the past. I shot this on my first digital camera. It was 3.2 million pixels. And I remember the shoot. We only had one earring, so I couldn't shoot this girl straight on. And we were in an E-type Jag. So I just decided to open the window of the E-type and have a looking out through, little sideways glance. And I love the way that this window just reduces the contrast here. And that contrast reduction is part of the magic of the picture. Beautiful picture. This was taken only a year ago or so, and I wanted to break up the light. I do this a lot with hard light, a really crisp hard light. You can see the shadows here, how hard the light is. It's from a Lupo 1000, it's a Fresnel spotlight, and I'm putting it through a plastic palm tree. So these shadows here are created from this plastic palm tree I bought on eBay. And this little vest top, I thought I'd tie it into a little corner here, and it just creates some nice lines and shape. And I used a hat to allow the picture to be anonymous, so you don't actually know who the person is, but it's an essay in line, design, and texture. I shot this for a book called Tutu, and I've not actually produced a book yet, but it's still ongoing. And I wanted this picture. I wanted an attitude shot, a ballerina. You know, ballerinas don't put their heels on the ground like this, and they don't have their legs apart like that. And I wanted that sort of attitude. And of course, the look here is quite intense. And what I did is I got Stina just to drop her chin down, and then just bring the eyes open straight into the camera. Very, very strong and quite aggressive type look. And so there's this vulnerability in this sitting on the ground, and yet this defiance, I'm not doing this anymore type look. And I love that. It just creates a little bit more of an edge to what would be otherwise a ballerina picture. For the lighting, I used this spot of light in the background, and that spot is there just to create that fade out, as you see here. It's not in post-production. It's not a sort of vignette. That's actually done in the studio with the lighting. This was shot in Cambodia of Yulia, amazing woman. And it was part of a series of pictures I shot of her and on a workshop, and it just tousled her hair up. There's no makeup, there's no skin softening, it's just really raw, and the connection to the camera was just electric. We had a very, very good rapport, and it's one of those pictures that I really love. It reminds me of a very good time and a good connection. This is a one light portrait, and it's really, really simple. The light's from above. It's called snooker lighting. That's what I call it anyway. It's like the light you put over a snooker table. So it's a strip light, soft light strip light, coming straight down from above. It's lighting the top of the face here and the hair, and then down onto the shoulders. And I just loved this girl's long neckline, and I wanted to capture that. And I quite like the way that everything just falls away into the shadows. It's a very simple picture. I often direct people to have their eyes closed, because I think that sometimes you get drawn into a picture. If someone's got their eyes closed, you start to think about what they're thinking about, what's going through their minds, and it just draws the viewer of the photograph in. This picture of Chloe Jasmine shows such sort of cheeky side. It was taken as one light portrait again. So it's a soft bank from a front, from above, pointing straight down, and then there's a reflector below coming back up. There's a diffusion in the picture. This halation on these highlights here is created with a Pro Mist filter, a Tiffin Pro Mist, a black Pro Mist, and it just creates that scattering of the highlights and gives it something interesting. I directed my makeup artist and hairstylist, Vicky, to give me waves. I wanted waves that you could surf in the hair. And I bought the glasses on eBay, this little cat's eye sort of shape. And we had this lovely little sort of magical feel to the picture. And this, the shawl I think came from Topshop, I think it was. And just very, very simple picture, but it's the expression, you know. Chloe Jasmine always brings something magical to a shoot, and it's that core energy that makes a picture work for me. This shot here is Yuli again in Cambodia, and I wanted to create something which had a sense of vulnerability, a sense of isolation and solitude, and this picture does it all for me. I've shot from above, so the camera viewpoint is high, and that creates that sort of suppressed sort of feel, and the nudity creates that vulnerability, and the lines on the wall are slightly haunting. Very, very simple picture, but can be quite powerful. This is for a series on Tutu again, and sometimes if I find I'm working with an image and it's not working particularly well, I turn it upside down. So after doing some straight ballet type photographs with Jojo, I decided I got to lie on her back and put her legs in the air, and you know, it created something which is just a little bit interesting. It's like the sort of dead swan, you know, type look. I quite like it. Dramatic, interesting, and it worked for me. This picture of Iskra Lawrence, just as simple. It's lit with the light coming through curtains. I opened the curtains, a little crack of light, so it's coming through from the curtains from here, and it just sort of glances, creating that sort of that shape here on the face. And I love this sort of S curve on the face, and for me that's all you need. The shadow detail does exist in the file, but sometimes I like to print it down just to simplify the picture. I love this shot. It's got a feel. I love the way that the tights just wrap around. This curve here, it defies everything that I thought about the way the human body could bend, and the sheen on the feet, just absolutely beautiful. And this, what I wanted to do with Natalia was to bring her face square to camera, very strong and very square, a strong connected look. And there's that little bit of rim light. Do you see that on the hair? Just that little bit of backlight. And it's a soft lighting from this side, very, very calm fall off on the shadow detail, and then a pool of light on the background, giving us that drop away. And whenever you've got eye contact, whenever I've got eye contact, I want it to be strong. That's a very beautiful ballet portrait for my Tutu book. I'll be a painter one day. I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. But yeah, I will get more patience, and you need a lot more patience to paint. My brother's a painter. He didn't start out as a painter, but he's great. He's loving it, and I think I'll be doing that. My mother was a painter, so that'll be something. That's something to come.